All right, so this is going to be a quick demo of the online PLC simulator that you're going to be using to complete some of the exercises in the PLC programming module. It's also a good tool if you want to practice or try out some ladder logic before you commit it to the PLCs. So this is a really simple but effective program for simple ladder logic. It's probably not going to do everything that we want it to do, but at least initially, it's going to be a great tool to try out some of the ladder logic and maybe to review and refresh some of the ideas in your memory. Okay. So first of all, when you get started, it should look like this. If it doesn't, then what you want to do is go over here to the new project, and you can say load new project, and then it's going to refresh it, and you should have a screen like this. Okay. So on the left-hand side, you have a listing where all of the variables are going to be shown. And on the right-hand side, of course, is where your ladder logic is going to be displayed. And then we have tools across the top here to introduce different inputs and outputs for our ladder logic. And then over here on the left-hand side, we have different tools for, well, I'll show you, for kind of controlling the way to go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with an example, figure 4-5, ladder logic example number 1 in the textbook. This is in chapter 4. So to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill in my variables. Okay, so notice that the variables, I found this a little bit difficult to find initially. Okay, but down in the bottom left-hand corner is where you enter your variables. Okay, so the variables that I'm going to enter here, as shown in figure 4-5, is start. All right, and I want to make that a Boolean. Right, and then I can submit that, and then I'm going to go to stop. Whoops. Stop. And then since it's Boolean, I can submit it by just hitting enter. And then I'm going to do reset and hit enter. All right. And then I'm going to do, so that's all the contacts or the inputs. Okay. Then I'm going to do the outputs or the coils. So I'm going to do red, yellow, green. All right. And we can't forget the end coil. Okay, so we got all of our variables listed there. They're all going to be Booleans, which means they're either on or off. They're ones or zeros. Okay, and now we want to create our ladder logic. And again, I'm just going to be copying the ladder logic here. So we have rung 1 here. So and I'll show you a couple of different ways that you can do this, but you can do it one rung at a time. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to pick on the add contact button. So I'm going to add a contact. Whoops, I got to select that rung. Sorry, I forgot to pick that rung. And you can see it turns blue when it's selected, and then I add that. All right. And then I'm also going to add a coil. Right. So I'm going to click right there. Now, notice the contact and the coil went to the correct location, right? But if they don't, you use these arrows. So watch, if I use this arrow and I click over here, see, you can reverse it. Sometimes when I'm doing this, because if I'm not paying attention to where I'm putting in the coil or the contact, it might come in this kind of reverse order or whatever. Don't worry, you just go over here to the arrows and just push this over there. All right. Now, once we have a coil and a contact on, we can click on the coil, and then you see where it says select. I'm going to pick that, and I'm going to select that this is going to be my start. All right. And I want it to be normally open as it's shown in the book. All right. And then I can click on this one, and this is going to be my red. And these are just different types of, the only output that there is right now is for this is like a motor. All right, so they don't have lights or anything like that. So it doesn't really matter because all we're doing is checking to see whether our logic is correct. All right, so far so good. Now let's add another rung. So we go over here on the far right-hand side to add a rung, and we click on that, and it adds another rung. We could go ahead and add a third rung, right? And hey, why don't we finish the whole thing and add a fourth rung? So then I'm going to click in here, I'm going to add a coil, and I'm going to add a contact. I'm going to click in here, I'm going to add a coil, and I'm going to add a contact. And I'm going to click on here, and right, this is where the end is, so I'm just going to add a contact on the end, okay? Excuse me, a coil. And now we can just go through this. This is going to be the stop. And this is going to be yellow. And this is going to be reset. And this is going to be green. Right? And then finally, this is just the end. There it is right there. Okay. So now to get this all to run, right now it's off, right? To get it to run, or to energize it, if we're using the term that we should be with our PLCs, we just want to hit the play button, start simulation. And you can see that everything is off. The red, yellow, and green are off, okay? So if I push on the start button, it's going to energize and turn on the red light. If I push on the stop button, it'll do the same, all right? So everything works fine. This, as I said, this is not exactly how our PLCs are going to run in our simulator because we don't have. Our push buttons will, when we release, they will turn off. So here, if I wanted to release it, I have to click it again, okay? So this is kind of for doing a rough draft, for trying out different scenarios to make sure your logic is still going to be good. But you can see on our variable list here what the value is for each one, okay? So this goes through. So red is, the start is true, which turns on red true, okay? So that's how it works. Now you'll notice up here, there are some added, some more advanced features. There's a timer function, there's a counter, there's different ways that we can do math, okay? And then we can also do a branch, right? Which is going to be handy later on. So, as I said, while this is not perfectly, this simulator doesn't have everything that could possibly be introduced in ladder logic in a PLC. It has all that we need, and it's a great way to test out some of our features. Now, I'm going to turn this off. Let me do one more, okay? Since I got a little bit of time, that was less than 10 minutes. So while I still have your attention, let me show you some different actions here. So I'm going to go up to, I'm going to save this, right? I'll save this. Whoops, sorry. Oh, you know what? You can't save this. That's right. You can't save this. So now, how do you create a screenshot? Well, we can share it right here, and you can sign up for this, or you can just take a screenshot using your snipping tool. All right. I love the snipping tool. You can search for it, and then you can just take a screenshot like this and submit that. All right. And then that's going to be perfect for submitting it on our in Canvas. All right, so let me do this last example right here. So if we wanted to add different elements to it, we can add, let's say, a normally closed button in here. So I want to add a normally closed on the start. All right, and also a kind of a limit switch. So I need to go down here and add some new variables. I'll call this close, and I'm going to call this open limit. And then I'm going to add a close limit. Okay, so I have those in there. So now I want to go, I'm highlighting this one, right, this first rung, and I'm going to add a new input or contact. But notice that it's in the wrong location, so I'm going to use this to move it over. I'm going to add one more, right? And then this one, I'm going to make it a normally closed. So I pick that second one, and I'm going to call this close. And then I'm going to click on this again. This is going to be my open limit, and I'm going to make that normally closed, right? And so now I've added these two elements in there. I could also go in here and let's click on this rung and let's add another one. Let's move it to the right. And then we'll add a second one on this rung. We're going to call this open. Oh, you know what? I didn't do open. Let's go down here. Let's go open. There we go. There we go, open. And that's going to be normally closed. And then we'll click on this and we're going to do a close limit. And that also is normally closed. Okay. Now, we don't need this line anymore. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to hit the delete button right here, delete element. So I delete that whole rung. And now you can see what we have. We have a ladder logic that's very similar to figure 4-11, final garage door ladder logic. Okay. The only thing I didn't do is I still have these called red and yellow. That's no big deal. I could change that if I wanted to by adding the motor clockwise and motor counterclockwise. But for this purpose, this is fine. So that's it. When I energize this, all right, you can see that this is. Let me turn. There we go. All right. Sorry, this started open. So we still have all these. So the end is true, right? These are all set to false. So when I click on this, this is going to go. But if the open limit is tripped, right? It's going to close that, right? So you can see that we can play each one out as if, and watch the logic here, okay? So I think that's a good example of, or a good demonstration of using this tool, this PC Simulator online tool. There are other online simulators that you're more than welcome to try out. They all behave very similar to this. Some of them are a little bit more advanced than this. So if you want to use a more advanced tool, by all means, try those out. In fact, for the exercises, the homework assignment that you're doing in this module, I don't really care which online simulator you use. So if you want to use a more advanced one and submit your work using that tool, that is absolutely fine. But this is a quick and easy way to do this so that you don't have to spend too much time learning the whole process. All right. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.